it's Mike here. I'm on an uninhabited island in Panama with Naomi, who was on the Alone UK TV series. We're taking 15 clients on the survival adventure of a lifetime before heading off ourselves on a survival challenge with no food, water or matches. You'll also get my tips on how to survive on a tropical island with extreme heat, sandflies and crocodiles. After landing in Panama, transiting to a staging area and sorting out logistics, we're inbound to this small island in the Pacific, which will be our home for the next 10 days. The clients are mostly adventurous Germans and Swiss Germans in their 20s and 30s who want to learn critical survival skills that will see them through this difficult experience. For the first 5 days, Naomi and I will teach them survival skills.
I want the ember to spread through the dust.
I would split them, lay them one on top of the other.
Naomi is an instructor with Bear Grylls Survival Academy and has instructed survival around the world. I instructed survival in the Australian military and have conducted multiple long-term survival adventures and was on the Australian version of Alone. Our priority during this instructional phase is teaching the team, not filming. Naomi and I will soon have more time on our hands though, because by the morning of the 5th day, the team have learnt enough to head out on their own 5-day survival adventure on the northern side of the island, where they can put their new skills to the test.
Alrighty, we are heading off. Tonight we're just going to do an overnighter. We've just got minimal stuff. We're not eating anything other than what we catch off the land. The tide's low, we're limited here on this island by how far we can walk if the tide's high. So we're just going to basically head south and explore the island. So it's a wet season in Panama right now, and you can see the storms just keep rolling in like one after the other. We've got a break now. Oh, awesome. There's your hair comb.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it worked.
Ooh, thunder. So we might be setting up in the pouring rain. Naomi was here. She just...
Did you get that?
I did.
Okay, injury 1.
Come over this way. That's the first time I've seen it fall over. It's because we've turned the camera off.
Yeah, but it's like the 10th injury.
Like
do
about...
as I say, not as I do.
It's so much easier filming somebody else.
Yeah, but you've got it right.
But I'm always...
Please don't post my trainers and the linen trouser combo. It's not a nice look.
Naomi is not only into fashion, that's kind of what has been her primary job for most of her life. Fashion crimes are like actual crimes, I'm guessing.
They're actual crimes. I'm the middle person between survival and fashion world, and it does work. It's just difficult.
So, my initial plan for this was to do our own mini survival adventure for the 5 days when we're not supervising the kids, as we call them. They're the clients who are out doing their own phase right now. But we need to stay close by a base camp in order to be able to respond if there's an emergency. Mostly they are everyday people who live and work in a normal modern environment, whether that's an office space. How do you go when you're thrown in an environment like this? And why would you want to do it? Why would a 21-year-old want to save up so much money for an expensive trip like this where you get dropped in by helicopter next to the island that you're going to and be forced to literally starve, get eaten by sandflies, sweat your butt off and have to work really hard? Why would you want to do that? So I'll show you some of the skills that we teach them. I'll show you some bush tucker and a whole range of things that fall within the priorities of survival.
Once again, this was primarily a work trip, so I wasn't able to film all the time, particularly when instructing clients, but hopefully I filmed enough of that and a little bit on the side that you'll still get some value out of it.
So there's one of those pterodactyl birds. I don't know what variety of birds these are, but they're freaking awesome. I've just spied something behind the beach here, which might be native ginger. That's the thing, like often countries on the other side of the world like this can have very similar plants. Just peel this stuff back. Doesn't actually taste too bad. You never know. New place, new plants.
Smells okay.
That's Griffy has.
Oh,
nice. Oh, beautiful. Awesome.
Home for the night.
Is this the one that had heaps of crocs on it?
Yeah.
So apparently the crocs here, American crocodiles, Crocodilus acutus, are really shy. And normally when you're, even Australian, the aggressive Australian Crocodilus porosus, when you first get to a beach, they run down the beach. So I always look like really closely when I first get to the beach because they got good eyesight and they see you and they normally go straight down. You only get one chance to see how big they are. Now I've got to be honest, I hate formalised survival priorities. I don't like set methods of priority. It changes every single time you end up in a survival situation. Whether it's a concocted one, which this really is, so you've still got to find the basics to keep you going. So if I was dropped by helicopter, or had a helicopter crash right out the front there, whether I was in a group or by myself, the first thing here, where I'm not worried about dying of freezing cold, is water, because it is sweaty here. It's the middle of the wet season. Sweat just pours off you and you dehydrate very quickly. So the first thing I do is just get out of the direct rays of the sun, get in the shade, and then think. Don't rush into it. Look at what you've got around you. What equipment do you have? Do you have mobile phone reception if you've got a mobile phone? All those kinds of things. Just think first. But then I would do a recce of the area to see what resources are around there, and my first priority would be water. So in this location, there's a couple of water sources. One fairly close by, and it's not pretty. I've definitely drunk worse. It smells sulphurous and it's not pleasant at all to drink. So there's two ways that I would prepare that water. First is to filter it by making a filter. There's so much plastic rubbish around here. It's really, really sad. This is the normal state of affairs along the beach line here. It is absolutely horrendous. So this entire creek is just clogged up with rubbish that gets blown in at the high tide. But one of the benefits of that rubbish is there are man-made materials around, which makes it quite easy to mix man-made materials and natural materials to form systems such as a filter. So you get a plastic Coke bottle, cut the bottom off it, turn it upside down, fill the bottom with charcoal. Now to start with, you may not have charcoal, but you can just use sand. But ideally you would have a couple of inches of charcoal, which you've crushed up nice and fine, then a few inches of sand, and on top of that, rocks to keep the whole lot on. And you tip in your dirty water at the top, and it filters down through. You can put a little pinprick hole underneath the lid with a little bit of burlap, which looks like natural cloth, but it comes from the surrounds at the base of coconut trees where the leaves come out. Chuck a bit of that underneath the lid, poke a little hole in the lid, and it will just drip out at a slow rate. That will clean a lot of the particulate matter out of your water. Then, because this doesn't completely kill the biological stuff, then I would boil it.
I didn't get a shot of our water filters in action, but here's a shot of some dodgy ones that some squatters had set up before we arrived.
With crocodiles leading to
Big ones?
decent sized ones, yeah.
Looks like a bloody rubbish dump, which is a real shame. This is a little dodgy. I don't see any croc tracks around.
Just as I said that, I was interrupted by a crocodile noise. I'll play it again a few times.
Around.
I'll put a link in the description to a YouTube video that has crocodile noise examples, so you can check it out for yourself.
Whoa!
Far out.
Did you hear that?
Because I'd spoken over the top of that noise and couldn't hear it properly, I wasn't 100% sure it was a croc noise. Had I known it was 100% croc, I might have changed what I did a little bit later on.
There were some squatters that were on the island. We had to boot them off. And they said they'd set up a camp here. And this must be it.
It's not bad.
So they got smashed by sandflies here, did they?
They did. But the weather's changed dramatically in the last week.
Plenty of hammock space, like it's the natural spot. This is a beach almond tree. These are the almonds, and you get almonds like shopball almonds out of them. They're very common. There's trees all along the coast, in fact all the way over in Australia, because their seeds float. They float across the ocean and they germinate on the beach. And they taste just as good as normal almonds. A bit of a pain in the butt to get out, but good way to find nuts. Turtle tracks. Oh yeah, something just ducked under. I'd say that was most likely a croc, just a small one. Right where those bubbles were. Yeah, I don't think I want to swim in there.
There were loads of croc tracks just leading into this water about a week ago.
There's an old croc track here. It's a decent sized one.
This one isn't too big. If you look at the tracks, that's about as wide as it is. Just based off the tracks.
Yeah.
But the drag is decent enough marked that it's not young.
The next thing I'd want to consider is shelter. I'm not too worried about food at this stage. You can go weeks and weeks without food. It's not a big deal. So one of the things that is going to affect you when you're doing any of these tasks, and that is looking for shelter, is sandflies. And there is a whole bunch of sandflies here. It's incredibly uncomfortable. And if you don't have long sleeve clothing and insect repellent, life sucks. There are some ways that you can deal with the sandflies, which I'll show you later, natural ways, and I would employ this method as I looked for shelter. But I would search far and wide, a long way down the beach. Perhaps if you're on an island and you don't even know whether you're on an island, go for a decent recce. Maybe you'll find that there's civilization just around the corner, or you'll get phone reception somewhere. But in that time, I would be looking for a suitable place to camp. That suitable place would be one where there's minimal sandflies, but also protection from the sun, which is really harsh here. Then I would look for places where there's a lot of materials to make shelter. And coconut trees are fantastic for a bunch of reasons, and one is they're really good for shelter building. Now here on the coast, there's a lot of bamboo that washes up, so you've got lots of straight timber that you can build a frame for a house with. You can cut the bamboo and make slats, because you do want to be up off the floor here, because at night time this place is full of crabs. Like every metre or two there's these Halloween crabs scuttling across the ground. If any of your clothing drops on the ground, it gets full of holes. If you are trying to sleep, they will come up and nibble you, because you're covered in sweat and salt, and you just can't really be on the ground here. Plus there is scorpions. I've almost trodden on a couple. There's snakes and other crap. It's just not good to lie in wet, muddy ground, so you want to be up off the floor. So a platform's good. Then you want to keep the rain off your head. So using coconut leaves, you can split them and create a thatched roof of sorts, which will keep out most of the rain.
The sandflies are so bad here that recently a filming production came to a nearby island, and within 3 hours they just cancelled the whole thing because the sandflies were so bad. For that reason, we allow the clients and ourselves the use of hammocks that have fly screens. It's actually not good for you to get smashed by sandflies that much. There can be health problems, so we allow ourselves that luxury. Of course, in a real survival situation, you would just have to put up with it, but it would be absolute torture.
So with minimal setup, this is how a hammock looks like this for the jungle. It doesn't matter what's underneath, even though this is soft sand. It could be rocks or whatever, or tree stumps, and pretty comfy. You just jump in there with a little bag to hang your stuff, and as long as your limbs don't get above the fly screen here at night, you're okay. But if your elbow gets pushed up like that, all of the sandflies and mozzies will bite you, and you have this huge patch of red raw in the morning. It's pretty nuts. One way to get away from them is to get in the water. It's also just about to start pouring down. There's thunder there, so we're going to be wet anyway, might as well jump in the water. There are crocs here, but and there's croc tracks just right there, but this variety apparently is not as bad, so I'll just stay close to the edge, have a good look around.
Taking a risk is a personal decision, and it's never black and white. It's always a grey scale where you have to estimate the risk. Now, we did speak to locals beforehand. We did look at the beach thoroughly. Had I clearly heard that call from the croc earlier, I would have been a little more cautious, because it did sound territorial. It was basically announcing its presence to us because it would have heard us approach. But we still stayed close to the edge and got out quickly, which does minimise the risk, but it doesn't get rid of it entirely.
Oi, you got him! Rock cod. Second cast. That's dinner for at least one. Got another one. I'm using a really light line, and it's trying to take me under the rocks. Oh, there's a bigger one. We can stop fishing, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's enough.
Oh, straight. Pretty easy to catch, actually, wasn't it?
Yummy, yummy. For you, it was easy to catch. It was. I'm looking forward to eating it.
So it's raining, humid, and we're on wet ground, but we're going to have to start a fire with friction. It's not quite as easy as using a gas stove, that's for sure. The next thing I would want to be thinking about is fire, because fire helps you keep the mosquitoes away and the sandflies, particularly if you burn a termite mound. One of the ones up a tree, you can put that down. The smoke helps to keep the sandflies away. But more importantly, you can use it to boil water, and then later on cook, because later on when you're getting fish, you can eat raw fish, but it's far nicer to cook. So it is relatively easy to light a fire without matches on a place like this if you understand how to do it. And the best way for that is friction fire. It's very hard to find good dry wood here, It's normally waterlogged hibiscus, but we grabbed this hanging and it's dry as, even though it's in a wet environment. So by opening up inside of logs, we can pull out these very dry bits.
Got it. Yeah. Do you want to grab some burlap whilst you're up there? Yeah, this is the way.
Awesome.
Okay, once you've got that bit, you're fine.
Yeah, they're nasty ones, those. I hate those ants.
Prepping some tinder, ready for our tinder bundles. It's very fine, catches very quickly. The coal, the ember from the blow drill.
This is some beach hibiscus that we chopped a couple of days ago. If you chop it fresh to make a fire, like without matches, it does need a couple of days to dry out. I'm just making one end into a sharp point that'll go at the top of the headpiece, and a blunt end that'll go into the base. We need a top piece to light this fire, and limpets, great bait, so we can scoop this out and then use this as a headpiece to light the fire. Alright, that's what we were. They're just the shell.
We are going to get our tinder bundle ready. Some dried burlap first to create the back of our nest. Then we've got some coconut husk, which has been teased. And then some bamboo shavings.
Just cutting a notch in. Knee rest. Alright, so I'm still going pretty slow, just starting to see a little bit of smoke now and some punk coming out. I'm going slower for longer because the wood's wet, so I'm just allowing it time to dry out before I go too nuts. Now it's starting to go black. It was brown, and now it's going black. So I'm going to start increasing the speed a little bit.
Smells good.
Does smell good. Not as good as the cooked fish we're going to eat. Alright, I can see I've got one already, but I'm just going to make some more fuel for it and then get a huge ember pile going.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Alright, no rush at all. Put it at the back of the ember pile. There's bloody drops landing on my hand. Alright, I'm going to come out into the breeze a little bit.
Easy.
Oh, it's too wet. No, she's gone out. We're gonna have to find some dry bamboo, I reckon. I just went to get back some more tinder. I thought I could smell smoke.
Naomi's a sneaky one.
Sneaky? Oh, I thought I saw a little flame for a sec there. Oh, that's good. I'll be the little cheerleader on the side. Oh, looking good. Our dinner's on the line here. Feeling good. Don't want to celebrate too soon though.
Don't lose it.
No, keep going, keep going. It's really tricky tinder.
Yes, 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 yes! Aye!
Yeah! Oh no, it's gonna...
Yeah! Fuck, where do I put it? Fuck. It's not caught enough. Aye!
Check on the ground maybe.
Okay, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it.
gotta get your side.
You're so fucking close.
Come on. Oh, it's gonna do its own business by itself. Yeah!
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well, you caught the fish, so I had to get the fire, didn't I?
Nice. Look at that.
We were surprised to find that we had mobile phone reception on this side of the island. Now, this is the last place where I'd normally want to watch TV, but the final episode of Alone UK was airing that night, so Naomi got to watch it as it came out. And these are pretty cool circumstances to be watching it in. Watching the show distracted us from what we should have been doing, which was cooking the fish. So we subsequently
Burnt the crap out of it.
and had to eat burnt fish for dinner.
So this morning we're going to walk back up to the original camp that we were at. They just haven't responded to their check-in, so we're going to walk up there and just make sure everything's cool. We won't actually go into their camp, but we'll just spy from a distance, make sure they're okay. And then we'll probably hang about up at our original camp just so we can keep an eye on our stuff, because there are quite a few little boats that just go back and forth, and we don't want to give the impression that we're not at our main camp. The tide's much higher, so it's going to be much more difficult to get back. It's stinky hot and sweaty. Oh, that's the tree that those seed pods came off. It's time to start looking for some food. This is the bit I love. I love fishing, I love foraging, whether that's for shellfish down on the rocks or for plants in the bush. Fishing here, if you have basic fishing gear, literally just line and a hook, you will catch fish. Bait options are plentiful. You can use a limpet, you can just use a crab. Once you've got the first fish, you can use little slices of fish, but it is fairly simple. If you have a more fancy fishing rod, like I've got, with lures, it's a piece of piss to catch a fish, really, in a place like this where it doesn't get fished a lot. If you don't have fishing gear, you can make your own line by using the bark from the beach hibiscus tree, or a fig, or aloe vera plant. But beach hibiscus is an easy one. Pull the bark off, pull off the inner layer of the bark, keep twisting it until a loop starts to form, and then go through a process of twisting the top, grabbing the bottom bunch of fibres, turning it over, and repeating the process, and you can quite quickly create a long length of string which is more than strong enough to catch a fish. To make the hook, you can get the right kind of shell and then smash it roughly into shape and then grind it off on a rock until it forms the shape of a hook, and then tie that to your beach hibiscus fishing line and chuck some bait on. Away you go. It is not as easy catching fish that way, but you still can catch fish. And fishing is really one of the easiest ways to get meat, and you're going to need it because your energy levels are going to drop. Sometimes the fish just won't take bait, so you can make a spear. You want a tree trunk going sideways and then up it a little chute up like that. That one's fairly straight. It is a much harder skill to learn. I trained for a year and a half before I got the required accuracy to be able to hit an individual fish. I use a woomerer, which is a length of wood like Aboriginal people used to use. In the States they call it an atlatl, and it helps to add power and accuracy to the throw. I've used it on other occasions. It is highly effective. Now unfortunately around here the water is a little murky and it's hard to see into the water, and so far I haven't seen a suitable fish to spear or a single stingray, and I think that's a seasonal thing. At other times of year you do see them here.
There are other food sources available too, like sea turtles, but they should only be considered in real life or death situations because they're generally protected.
See if that's like chicken. As far as shellfish goes, there is a lot. You just cook it in the coals. A lot of the time when the heat gets right and it's cooked inside, the shellfish will actually pop out. But if not, just give it a few minutes, pull it out of the fire, smash away the shell, and you can just eat it as is. I tend to scrape the guts off. Some people don't care and they just eat the guts and all. Crabs. It's pretty easy to grab a whole bunch of Halloween crabs, chuck them in a pot, smash them up, chuck in some shells that you've smashed up as well, and away you go. You've got a crab and shellfish stew. And I know it sounds like it tastes terrible, and I was skeptical the first time I tried it, but it's actually not too bad. And that's a bonus because a lot of stuff out in a situation like this doesn't taste very good.
I like snails.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest.
No?
Of course, as a no-brainer, there are coconuts. Now, coconuts are an absolutely amazing thing. You can get water out of them, meat, you can create coconut flour, coconut cream, coconut oil. You can create bowls to gather water and drink out of, and that's what we've got our guys to do here, is to make their own coconut bowls. You can quite easily carve a spoon with a pocket knife. It takes a while, but you get there, and all of a sudden, you're actually not living too bad a life. It's uncomfortable, but you've got all of the basics that humans need to survive. No washing up, no unnatural materials. Fantastic. If you're wondering why I'm wearing shoes when it's so hot, this is the reason. See these spikes? They go through, that one might even go through my shoe. I was wearing thongs and one went straight through my thong into the bottom of my foot. Didn't go that far in. And they're covered by leaf litter. And a few injuries like that can get infected fairly quick. These are the aloe vera leaves. See on the end there, there's that little spike. You can chew around it, scrape off all this green stuff, and it can literally be used like a needle and thread. And it's already attached to fibres, so just sewn very roughly there.
The plastic waste problem here is immense. Animals ingesting the plastic as it breaks down is a big problem. So is entanglement. So we're burning plastic nets when we find them.
So here I am amongst the rubbish behind the beach, and I found this degrading piece of clothing, and it is biodegrading. And look, it's made from a biodegradable material, merino. This is what happens when you buy natural materials. They biodegrade. And this is what happens to synthetic stuff. It just stays.
The sandflies are particularly bad today. There's not much you can do about them. Doesn't even matter if you go down to the beach that much.
Most of these people work in an office. And now they're going to walk away going, fuck, look what I've done. Like, I lived on a desert island and then I did it all by myself. Because no one knows how they're going to be or how they're going to crack or what sides of their personality are going to come out during these moments of starvation. And essentially they're a bunch of strangers and they're having to go through it together. That's a really strange thing to do. It's one thing to do it on your own and get frustrated on your own, but a lot of the time you don't want to show those ugly parts of yourself to a group of strangers, but they kind of have to. So they've got out there. And so they're going to be taking away skills they didn't really realise. I'm really excited to see them at the end of the day. Like, I'll be so proud. I welled up last time because it was just like, they really wanted to show me, hey Naomi, look at the weaving wall I did and look at these filters, and they were just like proud kids bringing home their shitty artwork. It was so beautiful, and I would put it on the fridge because it was just, they did everything I taught them. And quite often you teach these lessons and think, oh, they're going to get bored after 2 hours of water purification. But then they go out and build 20 filters and they're so itching to show you what they've made.
So that final day, what are we going to be doing?
When we pick them up? Oh, it's the most amazing feeling. So we have to do all the heavy lifting and take all the boxes down to the beach. We meet Pedro and we load the boat, but then we'll take the boat around to the other part of the island, and all the clients are kind of there waiting and waving and so excited, and my heart does race at that point because you just feel like, oh, I've got my kids back. And you know how hungry they are and you're the person who's going to give them a meal. Like, that's just, that's great. So they just want to catch up and a cuddle as well. They just want to thank you for everything you taught them and share their stories. And part of me gets sad that I haven't been a part of their journey for that last bit, but it's important to not be, so they can do it. Like, it's funny because they get into a hotel and they're like, wow, you can just turn a tap on, like, it's crazy. And they just appreciate, and you're there to witness them appreciate all these tiny things that we take for granted in everyday life. And so stepping away from convenience and luxury is so important, and it'll stay with them forever, that feeling of going back into what we're used to, civilization, I guess. I'm looking forward to a shower.
The company that runs these adventures is called Desert Island Survival, and they do them on other islands around the world as well. So if you're interested, I'll put a link in the description, plus a promo code so you can get a discount off your booking. Also, if you want to hear more about Naomi, I interviewed her before and after our trip for my podcast, so I'll put a link to that in the description as well. We cover her background, the things that make her tick, and the very different way that she does relationships. Thanks again for watching. Feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one.